for being here. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of an interesting talk about real estate website design and just design in general. Giving you a little lowdown on kind of some of the nuances that go into our design process and just awesome design process for real estate websites in general. And then opening the floor up to you guys to ask questions as well. So while you're here, you're going to notice a little chat window. Feel free to use that chat window at any time throughout. We're going to save your questions for the very end. The last 15 or so minutes of this webinar is going to be geared towards answering your questions. So please, anything that pops up while Roxanne is being interviewed by me, anything that pops into your mind, feel free to type it up. Or if you already have a list of questions that you've been wanting to ask Roxanne, now's a great time as well to kind of drop those in, and we will get to those at the end. So don't feel like I'm ignoring the chat. I'm looking at it and I'm totally aware of what's going on. I'm keeping an eye on there as we go through. But what we're going to do is just ask Roxanne. I think we've got a total of 14 questions to ask her today. She's going to answer these questions, and then she's going to answer your questions as well. Now, while we're going through this webinar, before and at the end, I'm just going to mention that we do have a design sale right now for all of our semi-custom website designs. They're all 20 to 50% off until September 30th. If you order by September 30th, we will apply the sale price to your design up until October 30th. So if you're thinking about doing a new design sometime in the next month, order before September 30th to get the 20 to 50% off discount. We also just released a new semi-custom theme called Zeitaku, which is 50% off right now. And so it's like the best time this year and the best time in the recent past to customize your site in terms of price. So enough talking. What I'm going to do now is introduce Roxanne. Roxanne is our head of design. Like I mentioned, she's created thousands of real estate websites over the years. She's a provisional registered graphic designer. And I'm going to start by just start at the top with question number one. Roxanne, you ready?
I'm ready.
Awesome. If you're having trouble with sound, yeah, let us know. I think that it's all good. We've been testing for the last 10 minutes, but yeah, crank that volume up and I'll move my mic closer and let us know if there's any issues, guys, in the chat. Okay, so Roxanne, designing websites for real estate agents means working with one type of customer consistently. What are some ways that you ensure that each RealtyNinja customer's website is unique?
So basically what I like to do is in the process for planning is I like to identify the client's goals as well as their audience goals. I find that intersection is pretty unique. I think there's also a lot of variation that's possible, especially with agent marketing, because it starts with your own personal brand. So having that foundation of who you are and knowing who you are is really important because no one is the exact same as you are. So I like to use that as the foundation in most of the designs.
Awesome. Many people are not familiar with our design process at RealtyNinja. Can you kind of briefly explain how all of it works when you're working with RealtyNinja to get design?
Yeah, so ours is actually a little bit different from providers like WordPress and Squarespace, like the big ones that people would be more used to. On those ones, you select a theme and then it's like automatically placed onto your site. And then you have to go in and change everything using their editor to match the branding. So ours is based on the customization of it. So that's why we call them customizations and not like custom sites or anything like that. We use these pre-designed themes to save cost and time in the case of our semi-custom service. And that layout sort of acts as a baseline for your website. So the first step is the planning and strategy part with me, where I ask for some preliminary info to start with. And I'll follow up for further details if I feel like we really need it to make your design stand out more. After that, I'll provide an estimate and invoice. After payment, the order goes to a design ninja who works in our design software to create a mock-up that matches that selected layout and your details. From there, we'll ask for feedback on the design and go on from there making changes until a file is approved and you love the design. And then we apply it using code and our editor to your RealtyNinja site so that at that point you'll see it interactive and in the browser before it goes live.
That's awesome. And I was doing a demo webinar today and showing off some of our semi-custom and fully custom sites. And it's really cool that, you know, even though you're picking a pre-designed layout when you go semi-custom, they actually don't look like, you know, cut out, because when you apply your own colors, fonts, and images and all that, it really does look like a unique site. So you guys
changes so much. Yeah.
really. Okay, so when you're designing a real estate agent's website, what are some important questions that you need to ask agents to help you plan your design strategy?
I want to figure out how you do things differently, your unique selling points. Like, why should people choose you over someone else? What's your area? And why do people choose your area is also an important one, because it's going to be different for somebody like working in Vancouver versus somebody in Alberta or like small town Ontario. The last thing I really try to focus on is the target audience. So for example, if you like to work with first-time home buyers, or if you are working in the luxury market, those things are pretty important to me as well.
And just as a follow-up to that, are there any like guidelines, like, you know, obviously as a designer, you kind of inherently know these, but are there any like tips and stuff when it comes to, you know, working with someone whose target market is luxury versus first-time home buyer? Is that like pretty complex when it comes to the person, or is that pretty straightforward process in defining those?
It is pretty straightforward. I think a lot of it has to do with what the client is interested in working with, as well as what's available in the market at the time. Because the luxury loan, for example, can be harder to get into because there's going to be more agents vying for that spot in the market. So we ask for those questions because we're going to display things differently for somebody who's a first-time home buyer. Maybe they don't have as much of a budget, or they're a little bit more nervous and they need that more trustworthy feeling. Mm-hmm. Whereas luxury like market agents, they really need to show that they can help these people who have a lot of money, more professionals, people that count themselves as more important, essentially.
Totally. Awesome. What impact do nuances like colors, fonts, and shapes have on an overall website's design?
Nuances. So actually everything. Individually and in combination, these three things basically set the whole tone of your website. Colors have personalities and messages for each hue and shade. Fonts have their own personalities, and shapes are really the building blocks of all design work. So if you describe yourself as a modern and adaptable realtor, your colors and fonts should match those keywords as well. Otherwise, it can set off like, this doesn't seem right to me when you're looking at that.
Awesome. Feel free to type in your own questions as you think of them, guys. Roxanne's an open book today, so please take advantage of that. Rox, what are a couple of the most important design components of a real estate agent's website?
I think it's really interesting. And so what I wanted to say about this is that I think that the methods of contact, the spacing between components, and having relatable content. And you'll notice that those aren't design components, because to me, design is just figuring out how to solve your goals using images, section positioning, typefaces, colors, and shapes. I don't believe there are any specifics. Like, I'll never say that your site needs a rectangular green CTA button, even if some items like that are recommended based on UX studies. I think everything is relative to the client and their goals.
And you just said UX studies. I understand what that means. Can you tell me what UX means?
Sorry, so UX is user experience. So while it is a design term, it's more about the research behind how people use websites and components on websites.
Awesome. So it all really goes a lot deeper than people think. It's just, oh, splash some color.
Absolutely.
No, it's more of a science, right?
It's very much psychology based, yeah.
Right, awesome. Well, how important is the homepage of a realtor's website, and what are some of the key components that absolutely need to be included on the homepage design?
Well, even recently, sometimes I hear the terms homepage and landing page used interchangeably. And although we know the differences, I think it's understandable since the homepage is commonly the first thing that people will see of your online presence. And I've also seen some sites where like 70 to 80% of the people on the homepage never even go to the other pages of the site. So the more that people feel they understand what they're going to get from the website and that aligns with what they're looking for, the more effective it will be as a homepage. So I think that content is key for sure. Other than content, I think the design of the site as it portrays your personality and economic level. So that point of if you only want to work with luxury buyers, then you want to feel like you're pricing people out of your services actually. Or if you want to work with first-time home buyers, don't get too fancy or they'll feel like they can't afford you on the other side there. So things like that need to be considered for the homepage for sure.
Right. And the homepage is often like it is a landing page, if you're talking about people landing on it first. And
Yeah.
as a just an extra tip for SEO guys, when someone lands on one of your website pages and then leaves without visiting any other pages, you're getting bad points on your SEO scorecard. That's called a bounce. And so a beautiful design on your homepage can actually, in a methodical, psychologically strategized design, can actually get people to click to another page, which can actually increase your SEO score. Am I right?
Right.
Perfect. If you have no sound, Ray, you're going to have a hard time listening in because we're basically just talking here. And so I don't know if he's even going to hear what I'm saying here. I'm just going to answer him, Rox. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, guys. Bear with me. Okay. How often should real estate agents consider updating their website design and why?
This is a tough question for me because I'm personally very value focused. So my heart wants to say as little as possible, but there's definitely risks and possibilities to consider when rebranding, and especially trying to stay either like as modern as possible or on the other end, trying to stay too safe. A well-branded website, I think, should last you till you need to rebrand, like if your business decides to take a different direction or something. But if you end up having the perfect brand developed for you, your website may be out of date in terms of like security and design, like 6 years down the line. So another factor is if you're keeping it updated as you go, because if your content and your imagery is fresh, that can get you pretty far. But in my experience, if you get a new design before 2 years have passed, I'm sad about that. And if you've gone 8 years, you're probably in need of an upgrade.
That's a good rule of thumb there. I like that. I feel like that's like the RealtyNinja site has been, a little while, and you want to get people used to looking at your site, used to getting to know your brand. And I think especially in real estate, when people are not necessarily just coming in and transacting with you right away with the click of a mouse, they want to get to know you and they want to feel familiar. And every time they come back, if they're seeing a whole new design, it might be a little bit off-putting for them.
Yeah, exactly. And my point about maybe like not within 2 years is just because to me, like a design should last longer than that if it's done right. So that means to me that we didn't go far enough in the planning part and trying to understand your goals and your audience. Maybe it changed in those 2 years. I mean, the market is pretty crazy, so it could be anything.
That's a good point. And just to further to this question, like changing the overall design is one thing, but is it okay to change like the layout and move a couple elements around here and there and just keep the same design? Is that the same kind of answer, or is that part like a living beast that should always be changed?
I definitely think it's a living beast. I think it's really smart and it shows your adaptability if you know like what people are searching for most on your website. I think once you get that information, you can start tailoring your online experience to those things, and it'll help people like have a more intuitive experience on your website as well. So I think it would be a really great thing, and I'd love to see more of that happening for sure, using knowledge of what your audience is coming to your site for to tailor not just your homepage, but your navigation and other pages as well. I think a site should be constantly evolving like that.
Totally good answer. And even from a marketing standpoint, to figure out what your audience is interested in, I think it's important to A/B test. So it's called A/B testing, where you test one version of a page against another version of a page that perhaps has a different layout or a different color scheme or something like that, just to see what your audience responds better to, what converts more into leads. And that can help you kind of guide your actual website too, I think. So, okay, so Rox, when you're designing call to actions on a real estate agent's website, what are some important considerations? And maybe maybe before you even answer that, like if you just want to touch on what call to actions are, I know you did an article about this and we're going to share that link. But if you can just mention what call to actions are, and then what are the important considerations when you're adding them to a site?
Yeah. So firstly, I just went and dropped the link to the blog post I wrote on calls to action. So basically, calls to action is any sort of prominent point where you want somebody to do something. That is the whole point of it. So it could be a button, it could be just a link, it could be, anything where you're saying, learn more about this point I'm making here, but I'm not going to go too far into it because I want you to go to this other page. So my main goals for them really, clarity is really important. Try not to be too generic. I think that there's a lot of learn more and read more. And while there's definitely a place for those, if you really want somebody to take action, they need to know what they're getting into before they make that jump. I think impact through timing and repetition is really important. If the timing isn't right for somebody to hear a call to action, let's say in an article or something, then it's going to feel jarring and out of place, so they're not going to want to click it. And don't have too many, please. I'd say first, second, and third levels, primary, secondary, tertiary, should be all stylistically apparent if you have that many on a page. It's totally fine to have that many too, especially on a homepage. But the less that you have, the more important your calls to action seem. So it's going to be more likely that somebody's going to click them and take action.
Awesome. And when you're just further to this, when you're designing them, this is another, I would guess that call to actions are another thing that address that target audience that they're going after, right? You're setting up call to actions that speak to their ideal visitor, I'm guessing.
That's right. And that's why I like to say, try not to be too generic. Like if your branding, your tone of voice allows you to be a little bit more wordsy or cheeky, then do it. Put that personality in there.
Love it. How does a beautifully designed real estate website impact lead capture? Is it as simple as nicer sites get more leads, or is there more to it?
I love this question. And it's because the true answer is that the design, like I'm a designer, and I'm going to say this, the design is secondary to the content. If you have a gorgeous website that doesn't say anything in it, you're not going to get any leads, because what reasons are you giving someone to get in touch with you, right? But however, design is important, especially right now, because it's a great differentiator. It also shows people that you're willing to put the effort and the priority on your marketing, and they're going to make that connection that's helping them in the end as well.
Totally. And you and I both can attest that we see a lot of real estate agent websites, and we see a lot of, for lack of a better word, just not good looking ones.
Yes.
And so, yeah, like you said, it is a good time to make sure your site's looking good, because it is a big differentiating factor for sure.
Yes.
Can you share a few examples of real estate agent websites you've designed lately that you're really proud of, and just kind of share? You can share the links, and everybody can open them up on their own computer, and you can talk about them. And while you're doing that, I might try and do screen sharing here and hope I don't break everything.
Oh, okay. Good luck. Okay. So I chose 3. One of them actually isn't very recent. It was one of our first Katana customizations actually, but I still really love it, so I wanted to share it. So I'm going to go ahead and just share them there. So the first one, it's my second recent one. And I love it a lot because of the overall feeling that you get when you're on it. The audience for Kendra was so specific, and the way that she addresses her audience was just, it made for the perfect combination of I know exactly what I'm going to do for this design, and I had the flexibility to go for really pushing that audience connection. My other favorite thing about this website is the overall flow that goes between all of the pages. We worked really hard on making sure the content was relatable, and we were making connections between each page and another page. So the flow of content in between the pages it's relatable for anybody reading it that's in her audience. It's so unique too.
Is it going up, like the screen share?
It's showing for me.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. What's the next one?
Justin Hawks. So this is really exciting because it's actually for Remax Little Oak, like the entire brokerage. They have 5 offices and over 240 agents. So the target for this one is really interesting for me because there's 2 very different targets going on here. First, they wanted it to be available for like their agents' potential clients. They want to have a resource for those people, but they're also really focused on getting new agents into their brokerage, which of course they are, right? So that was one challenge. The other challenge was simplifying what they had been essentially what they started on working for their website like years and years ago. Like if you go to their current site, I'm not asking you to do that now, but it's older, it is outdated, and they've just tried to fill it with a whole bunch of resources and information, and it's not exactly the most fun website in the world. So we had the opportunity to simplify things a lot and make it a better experience. It's still a work in progress. There's still lots of things being done to it. So little sneak peek there. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on for this site was the scope of it. Like, as I mentioned, they have over 248 agents. So there's lots to be done on this site.
Very cool. I love it.
Yeah.
This is actually happening, this one. It's been a long time in the works.
It has, yeah. But I think with the scope of it and the overall challenge, like I love working with Justin. He's been so great and so open to feedback. So
awesome.
It's been a good one.
All right. Last but not least.
Last one is one that I didn't design myself, but I wanted to pinpoint it. And I love this one just because of the idea of teamwork that went into it, both for Reese and Kathleen, but also like our team, like our design team working on it as well. I think it's such a great example of how you can really get across like a story and personality and this feeling of fullness without like making it feel cluttered. And you know, it's fun. It's a fun website, and I think it's a really great example of what a customization can be.
Yeah, I love this website. This was another one of our first Katana.
It was, yeah.
I love this site. I always show this one off.
Me too.
Awesome. Okay, let me stop this sharing and open that back up. Okay, cool. Thanks for that. When it comes to designing landing pages, and maybe you want to touch on what landing pages are again, because I know we briefly mentioned them earlier. But when it comes to designing landing pages, what are some important things to keep in mind?
Yeah, so landing pages are pages that are specific to your marketing. So let's say you have a Facebook or Google AdWords campaign running, and you need somewhere for that to go so that you have the proper analytics and statistics to really show like how well that campaign went. So the whole goal of a landing page is to get them to take action that you want them to. So if it's to get them to request a free home evaluation, that should be the only point of this one page. So yeah, the most important thing is to keep it concise. Your landing page should have one point to make and one goal. Don't provide external links. Don't go overboard with specificity. Just really simple and to the point. I would suggest including social proof where you can. So if somebody has given you a really great testimonial, or you've done video testimonials, or you have really great Google reviews, throw those on there because that can be really powerful in making somebody make a decision to get in touch with you.
Awesome. And just so you guys know, if you are RealtyNinja customers, if you add, I think it's !landing equals 1 at the end of any of your website URLs. So if it was like yoursite.com/buyers, then you would just do yoursite.com/buyers !landing equals 1. And that will activate landing page mode for that page, which essentially hides the navigation. So like Roxanne was saying, you don't want to provide external links. And so though it won't take people away from that landing page to other pages of your site, it'll just keep them focused on that page. So every one of you who is a RealtyNinja customer has landing page mode currently enabled on their site. All you got to do is add !landing equals 1 to the end of any of your URLs, and it will activate it.
It's very handy. You can make as many as you want.
Totally. And you can, like, if you share that link on social media, they'll get to the landing page version of that page. If you don't add !landing equals 1, and share it on social media, it'll just be the regular version. So it's not actually editing or changing the page, it's just hiding the navigation.
Yeah.
Awesome. What's one of the most important design lessons you've learned over the years that always applies when you're designing real estate agent websites? And if there's more than one, that's cool too.
I think I just have one, and okay. I guess I should probably say, since my camera's on, and I know I look like I'm 12 years old, but I've been with RealtyNinja for about over 5 years. I think it's been about 7, and I've had my hands in about 400 website designs. So there's definitely lots of stuff that I've had the opportunity to be part of, and I'd say that I think it's really important to remember that it's not about you in the end. Although we use it to design, and it's really important for us, it's about who your website is for. I've seen countless projects where decisions were made based on how a client has wanted things, because other sites have done them too, and it just ended up becoming needlessly costlier or attributed to a poor site experience. So I think it's really important to make decisions based on who's actually using your site, and if we keep that in mind, success is basically guaranteed.
That's a great answer. And in marketing, there's a term called MOO, which stands for market of one. And that's when people do, start a business or do a marketing campaign or design their website or whatever based on what they like.
And I haven't heard that.
Yeah, they're the only person in that market. They're like, I like this, so I'm going to do this. And in reality, it's like you said, your website's not about you. It's about your visitor, and it's about turning those visitors into leads. So that's a really great point. Working with designers can be challenging. Over the years, I have personally literally never heard one complaint from our customers about you, Roxanne. Everyone seems to love you and loves working with you and has no problem vocalizing it either. So what is it that you're doing different that makes the website design process so smooth and fun for realtors?
Thanks. I care a lot about our clients and their goals. It makes me really, really happy to see them earn their success, and I feel like I'll do anything to make that happen. I like to share experience, statistics, best practices, user research. I try to stay informed and see how we can improve. Like, I never feel like, we're at a level where it's safe to just not get better. I always think that there's room to improve. I mean, like, we could just simply take whatever files you have and just mash together a theme that you can get anywhere, but I'd rather help you go and above and beyond that expectation. And I think that's what I put a lot of spirit and love into each person.
I think that definitely shows. That's so great. We love you. Everyone loves Roxanne. It's amazing. Before I ask the last question, can you just tell everyone what it means? And I even need a little bit more info on this personally. What does it mean that you're a provisional RGD, the provisional registered graphic designer? What did you do to get to that point, and what is involved, and what does it mean for you as a person, as a professional?
Oh, that's great. I mean, I feel like I'm going to disappoint because I didn't really do much for Provisional, but it's basically a way for me to show that my career is really important to my development in life, and I'm focused on always improving and being ethical in my design choices. So being an RGD is essentially you're a registered graphic designer in Canada. So there are rules and guidelines that we need to follow once we're registered and help make the design industry a better place, really. So a provisional is just, I paid to get that title essentially, but it helps me get resources to grow in my career. And then potentially next year, I will be going for my certified RGD, which is this huge testing process where I become more of a leader in the industry. So I'm really excited for that.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Do you need to do a certain amount of hours before you can do that testing, or is that just a waiting period, or how does that work?
I think there is a certain amount if you didn't graduate from one of their institutions, which I did. So because I graduated from Red River College in Winnipeg years ago, they see me as I have that baseline already. So, yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. I already said this at the beginning, so I'm going to let you do it this time. Can you tell everyone a little bit about the design sale we have going on right now and how they can take advantage of it for their own sites?
Yeah, so right now we're doing 20% off semi-custom base prices. Our new semi-custom Zaytaku is 50% off, which is awesome because it's like our most expensive one. So it's super economical to go ahead and just go for the most fancy one we have right now. The discounts are running until September 30th. So get your order by then. And if it takes us until October 30th to get the project off the ground, things happen, it happens, then we'll be doing the discount for you until then.
Awesome. Amazing. I think we have a few questions in here from the audience. I didn't see a ton, which means that we probably answered a lot of people's questions, or at least I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that that's what happened. So let me just scroll up, and I'm going to read some of these out loud because I didn't actually read them while we were chatting. Let's see. Carolyn Hunt. They don't have MLS information for a website in the US. However, me being the client, I do have access. Would you be able to use it for, say, my website? Should I want to have my website created by your company? In terms of, I don't know if that's like necessarily specifically design, but in terms of using RealtyNinja, I would personally say that one of the great things about us is that we're integrated with the MLS boards in Canada. And so that's one of the powers of the site. I think that we provide discounts if you're not using our MLS data. And you want to try and plug it in. From a design side, Roxanne, the code and everything. I don't know if it would work. Do you want to say anything about that?
So it sounds like this person is in the US. So I think their choice would be to either to upload their listings manually, or if they had some sort of like MLS widget through their whatever registration board. If there is an embeddable widget, then you can put it on our website for sure, but it wouldn't come from our own MLS widgets. We don't have integration with the states.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Yeah. So Carolyn, it sounds like you can definitely embed if you have third-party code, and if you want to manually add your listings, you can as well. And feel free to email us at info or support@realtyninja.com and start that conversation with us, and we'll see what we can do for you. Mm-hmm. Okay, next. So a bit of an open-ended question here from Greg Bosworth. How do I best optimize page? And so from a design standpoint, I'm gonna leave this one to you, Rox. I'm gonna let you tackle it however you see fit, and give Greg some pointers, and then he's got another question for you as well.
Sure. So in terms of optimization, I think what's most important is to focus on like your organic, the ways that you're getting people to make decisions on your page. Because while it is important to look at page load speed and everything like that, I think as long as you're using plain English and you're reaching out to your customers and you're using more organic methods of getting people to convert, that's more important than focusing on like code optimization and things like that, which we do, where our developers are always working on things like that. So things that you can do to optimize, focus on cutting down your calls to action if that's applicable. Use images that have been optimized. So don't just upload like a 3 megabyte picture onto your site. If you have videos, try using plugins that will lazy load it for you or something, instead of just putting like 6 videos on a page. That will slow it down a whole bunch. And then my last tip would be to add alt tags, so that not only is it more accessible for Google to read, but it also makes it easy for people using screen readers and stuff. I think accessibility is something that's really important for optimization as well right now.
Perfect. And I'm even going to add a couple points to that. One thing for optimizing for adult tags, no, they're called alt tags.
Alternate tags.
It stands for alternate text. And those are keywords for your photos, Greg. I'm going to call them adult tags from now on. So yeah, in terms of optimizing your page, I would say another good one, like a good trick, is getting links to that page. And so search engines love when you have links to that page. So from a design standpoint that Roxanne answered your questions, but from a attracting traffic standpoint, get a bunch of links out there that are pointing to your page so that people can actually find it either through those links or through just getting a better organic ranking. Because when you have backlinks pointing at your site, you're essentially growing your authority in the eyes of search engines, and they're going to be more inclined to show your website in the search results on page one. Roxanne, what are some of the best free stock image site links that you know of? Can you share those in the chat for Greg?
Oh, I have lots. Hang on, I'm just gonna quickly throw some in here.
Nice.
These are my favorites: Pexels, StockSnap, Pixabay, and Unsplash. I usually go between all four of those, and I'll find what I'm looking for between them.
Perfect. I'm usually just on Unsplash, so that's good. I learned something too. That's so Chris Radosevic says, do you help with our personal branding as well?
So we don't offer branding services because we want to focus on the web design as our main service. But if you don't have personal branding, we can usually do something pretty decent with it, even if that means just using like a different font or some things like that. So if you don't have branding, there's always things that we can do in a customization to make you stand out.
And those things would, be after you've talked to them, interviewed them, got to know their target audience and all that. It wouldn't just be like, here, we'll just use this font. It would be methodical.
Yeah, exactly. We're not just going to throw something at you.
Perfect. Michael H says, what do you guys find regarding forced sign up in terms of performance versus the MLS listing or like the landing page? So I think what he's asking is like forced sign up versus just a general landing page that provides that information and that data without putting up a gate.
I think that's pretty universal at RealtyNinja here, that we don't agree with forced sign up as a practice at all. It just doesn't really make sense in like the web industry with how you can get information like that anywhere. So what we like to suggest doing is using practices that provide more value to your client rather than like forcing them to give you information. I know that a pretty common practice to do instead is to provide something for free, like a buying guide or something that is personalized information for what they're looking for, and then coax them into giving your information that way.
Yeah, totally. We all 100% are on the same page on that front at RealtyNinja. I don't think that forced registration will ever be something that we implement. Think about, like, I guess our thought too is like, would you rather have 100 leads that you have to follow up with and literally none of them turn into anything, any business for you, and they take a ton of time for you to follow up? Or would you rather just get 5 leads and 3 of them actually turn into clients? So the number of leads might not be as overwhelming when it's 5 versus 100, but the amount of business that you're getting through it is
higher quality.
Way higher quality. The quality of leads is way higher. People will often just plug in their email address just to get past your gate without actually wanting to talk to you. And so it's not a really high quality lead. And like Roxanne said, that information is widely available all over. So it's not really, I mean, they'll just leave your site and you don't want them to do that. So,
yeah.
Okay. We're getting some more questions here.
So many people were typing. It's exciting.
I know. It's great. Chris Radosevic says, what semi-custom design do you think is the simplest? I find some of the designs almost have too much info.
With that note, then I would probably suggest Saya. It's pretty simple. It's based on minimalism, and the way that it presents the information is a little bit more like condensed, I would say. And like if you wanted to go for something like a Nagato theme, which is technically like our simplest one, we can always remove things. Like I would rather, yeah. So I would rather select one that has more than what you're looking for and we just remove it than select one that doesn't have as much space as you're looking for.
And I think that leads to a great point that, with the semi-custom designs, you can add extras and you can also take things away, right? It's not
Oh
like, oh,
yes,
this is what you get. This is all you get. It's got to be exactly like this.
just a
Items,
baseline.
yeah, exactly. Items can move around. So keep that in mind.
And with that, I'll also add that I usually ask people just to look at like the header of it, because I find that the header is usually the most distinct part of that customization in relation to the other ones. So whatever header you feel like suits you the best, let's go with that theme and then just change the rest of it.
Totally. Awesome. Okay, Lee Caldwell. I have two website addresses for the same website you designed. One of them says unsecured. What does this mean? I'm.
So
Yeah. Go ahead.
it sounds like one of them is a primary address and the other one is a forwarding. So that means that our SSL certificate only got attached to the primary one. So your forwarding isn't being at HTTPS. It's going to be at HTTP, which means that it's not secured. I'm not sure if we provide two SSL certificates. You might need to get in touch with your domain provider to attach one to that forwarding one. But send us an email at info@realtyninja.com and we can look into it for you.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Email us. I'm just going to type our email here for you. And we'll get our designers to look at it. Maybe it's as simple as just flicking a switch and fixing it, but I'm sure that's something we can do something for you.
Yeah.
Mark Deans, can you guys assist with site optimization services? Are you expanding your services into video production or upload onto video and your site?
Hi, Mark. So we don't do SEO. That's not really where our expertise lies. We do have some people in our marketplace who do specialize in that sort of thing. I think Seppi is going to be posting a link to that right now. So we would definitely say get in touch with somebody who is really good at SEO. We don't do video production either. Well, the most we'll do is if we have to create like a file for a video banner, we can cut and compose a video for that. But you would want a videographer to do your post-production for you if you're doing video marketing.
Yeah, totally. The marketplace is a great resource to check out, but I don't think we're ever going to get into the marketing service field. We might get into doing some basic like SEO audits and optimizations, but like Roxanne mentioned earlier, we want to focus on being the best of the best in terms of websites, and spreading ourselves too thin with marketing services is not something we're gonna do as a business. I don't believe anyway.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yeah. Bob Dunn, what's the best way to attach or insert photo credits when using free stock images?
Hey, Bob. So for free stock photos like you get on Unsplash and like the sites that I listed, you don't have to credit them. They provide their photos to these websites with that in mind. They're open Creative Commons copyright, so they don't require credit. But if you'd like to, the most common way to do it would be to include a little caption underneath the image. Or if you're using it as a prominent like marketing image, you could always include the credit in your footer as a little footnote.
Awesome. Mernaz Kavusi says, how long would the service stay? I mean, if we want to change some parts again after a while. So I'm guessing she means like if she gets a customization, how much of it can you kind of modify after a certain period of time, or how does that work?
So the customization is basically an order for the homepage layout and your overall design. If like once the site goes live and you've approved that whole order, then that's considered closed. We're always happy to help you with making changes afterwards. A lot of the time, we don't need to charge you for changes. But if you want to make substantial changes, or if like it's adding some pretty custom design work or things that need a lot of coding, we'll provide you a quote at our hourly rate. And we will never do anything that's going to cost you money like without telling you first and getting your approval on it. And I'm pretty good at coming up with solutions if you have a budget. So don't hesitate to get in touch with me if you're ever looking for changes.
Totally. I love that. And just reach out. And if you have ideas, just ask and see what we can do and see what's possible. And you don't have to pull the trigger, but it's good to have an idea, right?
Yeah, exactly. And actually, on that note, I heard that sometimes if you're looking at sending in the design form to provide information like for a customization, it's not like a binding commitment or anything. If you just want to chat about design and see what options are available, feel free to send that form in because it just means that I'm opening up that avenue to chat. So yeah.
Awesome. Team Zubor says, can you confirm that the monthly charge, 69 a month for website, is good for either individual agent or team? No extra charge for having team members. I want to say, I'll take this one. I just want to say it's actually $79 per month if you're on the monthly, and it's $69 per month if you go annual. So it's essentially saving $120 a year if you go for the annual commitment for the site. And there is no extra fees for, you can have 20 team members, you can have 2 team members, you can be a brokerage site, it's the same price. There's no individual charge for each agent. And then in terms of the design, Roxanne, if they've got a team site, does that increase the price of their design versus having an individual site?
No, having a team doesn't inherently change the price, but if they ended up wanting to have like a really complex and super cool with all the bells and whistles, then just like an individual site, that would affect it.
Awesome. Great. That seems like we've hit all of our questions. Thank you guys all for all these questions. If you have any more, I'll give you one more 30-second stint window here to kind of type it in. Otherwise, oh, there we go. I knew Alex was typing.
I know.
Alex Solander. Are we still able to edit our sites ourselves after the site goes live and you finish the design?
Yes. So funny because I'm actually in the planning stages with Alex right now. So yes, we actually recommend that you edit the customization and everything afterwards. It's very likely that people will want to update like their photos and things like that. I mean, Christmas is coming up, so it's usually a good idea to add in some like little relatable holiday things as the seasons change. So yeah, definitely. Use the editor to do whatever you want. That's what it's there for. And we're here to help you if you need any help.
Amazing. Perfect. Awesome. Good question, Alex. Good question, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, guys. We've taken up 47 minutes of your time, and it has been super fun. I've personally learned quite a bit. I hope everyone here has gotten something out of this webinar today. We are going to have a recording of the webinar available on our website and our social media soon. So check us out on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all that good stuff. And please don't forget about the design sale. It's only until September 30th that you can book or that you can lock in your sale price of 20 to 50% off a semi-custom design. So feel free to do that or write us if you have any questions. And you know where to find us Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, info@realtyninja.com, or on the phone at 1-888-767-7421. Thank you, guys, and I hope you all have an awesome day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Roxanne. This was great.
Thanks, guys.